here's Brody Brazil.
This is a video that deals with 3 different things you're aware of individually, but maybe you never put them together all at the same time, and maybe we're about to make a point in all of this by the end of the video. Nike, Major League Baseball, and Zoom, as in the video conferencing platform that a lot of us still use on a regular basis. Yeah, what do all 3 of these things have in common? We're going to try and get to that by the end. We'll also have some comments from Nike's CEO. But let's first begin with the Major League Baseball jersey issues starting here in 2024. Dare I say it's a laundry list of things to talk about. Nike and Fanatics, they took over the design and production and fabrication of these new jerseys, which have mismatching grays, the gray top and the blue-gray pants, or the sweat stains we're seeing on all of the road jerseys, sweat and perspiration like we've never seen on baseball players before. The transparent pants, like you can see the jersey top labels through the pants. You can also see more than you bargained for on some occasions. How about the ripped pants? It was Riley Green of the Tigers sliding into home plate about a week ago. His pants on the side just totally ripped off on a pretty normal slide into home plate. The printed patches on the sleeves versus the old embroidered ones, they just don't look the same anymore. How about the smaller names on the back? We saw Bryce Harper over this weekend maybe even revert to wearing his last year's jersey and pants versus the new ones with the smaller font and names on the back. Now, baseball and really Nike and Fanatics say all of this is for a performance type jersey, but I don't know that the players so far have signed off on saying that the performance benefits outweigh all of these things that not a lot of people are really sure about. Now, we also need to explain that this is a $1 billion uniform deal, and it deals with 3 different parties. Major League Baseball at the top, Nike kind of in the middle of all this, and Fanatics really is just a company that's doing the fabrication and the ultimate sales of these jerseys. Now, they come with a prior reputation, which we'll get about in just a second, but you'd have to say that baseball, Major League Baseball, is in the most control of this entire situation. And if there is finger pointing to be had or questions to be answered, they should be doing most of it because they're the ones that should have approval to this. They're the ones that should have ran these new jerseys by all of their players, maybe even some fans along the way, just to say, do you like this? Would this be a good idea, a bad idea? They should have done more trials and work on this product before they just floated it out there this season. And really, players were the first ones to kind of wave the flag on it, call it out. Now fans are seeing it more and more in person. Nike, this was their design, their logos on the front of the jersey. I mean, Fanatics, like I said, it has the ultimate final fabrication, but most people see this as a Nike product. It was designed by them. It was their concept. And over all the decades, like they've had a pretty good reputation. Most people have a really good experience with Nike products. So their reputation is on the line here just as much as anybody else, even though I understand Fanatics as a more newcomer to the apparel industry, like they've had some issues, quality control, customer service, things of those nature. But again, they're just in the fabrication part of this. Nike's more involved. Major League Baseball is kind of at the very top. These are literally listed in order in terms of this triangle. But as for Nike more specifically, we'll dive into them as a company. They're going through a $2 billion restructure. I take this news from CNBC.com. In December, Nike announced a broad restructuring plan to reduce costs by about $2 billion over the next 3 years. It also cut its sales guidance as it warned of softer demand in the quarters ahead. 2 months later, it said it was shedding 2% of its workforce, or more than 1,500 jobs, so it could invest in its growth areas such as running, the women's category, and the Jordan brand. Now, we'll dive deeper into Nike as a business and as a company here. Again, they've been around for decades. They know what they're doing. They've survived some ups and downs before, but this is an interesting take, and maybe this gives us a little more light and a little bit more perspective into the whole baseball jersey issue right now. Again, I may be making a stretch here to put these 2 pieces together, but I do believe they belong on the same canvas. Whether they're connected or not, maybe we'll have a better idea by the end of going through this. The headline from CNBC says Nike CEO blames remote work for innovation slowdown, saying it's hard to build disruptive products on Zoom. John Donahoe is the Nike CEO. He told CNBC, quote, "What's been missing is the kind of bold, disruptive innovation that Nike's known for. And when we look back, the reasons why it's not happening or hasn't happened as much are fairly straightforward." He goes on to say, in hindsight, it turns out It's really hard to do bold, disruptive innovation to develop a boldly disruptive shoe on Zoom. Our teams came back together 18 months ago in person, and we recognize this. So we realigned our company, and over the last year, we have been ruthlessly focused on rebuilding our disruptive innovation pipeline along with our iterative innovation pipeline. I appreciate the way that was presented there, and I don't disagree. I think working in the world the way it has been or had been for a certain period of time, for some companies, it's hard to evolve, it's hard to grow, it's hard to push those limits, and maybe the baseball jersey design was part of kind of what went wrong here. Again, that's just outside speculation. I could be wrong on that, but it's a possibility that some of that might have suffered because of what he's pointing out here. And I don't necessarily disagree with that perspective. This could be kind of a valid reason as we get to things here. But we do have to say that the baseball jersey design was a miss. It's one thing if a couple fans or players were raising questions and having some criticisms, but it seems so widespread that it just needs attention. It needs to be addressed and hopefully remedied by the next season to come. There's also, related but separate, Nike came out with official Olympic uniforms for the United States, Team USA, and their track and field jerseys for the 2024 Olympics. Let's just say there are some revealing uniforms. And I understand there might be different cuts, like we haven't seen all of them, but the initial ones on the mannequins, wow, that's going to be PG-13 at the very least at the Summer Olympics in Paris. But again, just a mock-up. They're not on actual humans yet. I'm sure they will fix and fabricate something custom-made for every individual athlete. But all this comes under a time where maybe the company has had some issues with design and execution. And look, some companies, they have thrived in the Zoom era and people working remotely and separate. Other companies, they haven't done so well in this circumstance and situation. And if their CEO is being honest about that, then, I mean, maybe that's a real setback that they had. Maybe that's some of the reason why we're seeing the baseball jersey stuff. It's difficult to stitch the pandemic and Nike business and Major League Baseball jerseys all together. Like, that's kind of the idea of this video, is just to get you thinking about these different things. And maybe that's why it came out like it came out. And maybe that's a root issue of the reason here. I'm not here to say that's 100% the cause, but I am saying, knowing all these things that are all sitting out there, separate but related to each other, maybe there's definitely something to it. So again, honesty from Nike. It's really the first time we've heard them in a while speak out about all this. They've been small comment here, small comment there. We're working on it. We're trying to fix it. But I hope that baseball gets this addressed. And if Nike's dealing with their own stuff, I'm sorry to hear it, but I hope they work through it. And I hope they and Fanatics and obviously Nike, I hope all three of those companies get together and get this right for 2025. Quick video. You made it here to the end. You know I appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. That'll help me in this video and this channel. And by the way, I'd love to see you back here next time. So make sure you go down below and hit that subscribe button.